The entities in Soma are tragic walking amalgamations of corrupted machines, humans, and wildlife, driven by a fragmented existence. Within the pursuit of preserving life under the waves of the North Atlantic Ocean, the WoW had utilized a substance known as structure gel to change the anatomies of the employees of Pathos II, the wildlife, and the structure of the universal helpers that were originally designed to assist the employees were now changed into mindless monsters, driven mad by the changes and mutations the gel had given onto them. In this video, we'll be looking at each of the WoW's failed and corrupted miracles, uncovering their appearances in body horror and their distinct behaviors within the world of Soma. The Anglerfish is what you would expect from the name, except for one big difference. Like many in this list, this enemy is one of the victims of the mutations brought on by contact with the structure gel, where its appearance has been heavily disfigured by the tumor growing out from its side, which to our horror, the tumor resembles that of a human head, which has caused some to speculate that the reason for this occurrence could have been due to a past victim of the Anglerfish, where the person's head had fused with the creature, but maybe the reason for this occurrence could be down to the WoW's directive to preserve life, but the gel had misunderstood the genetic code of humans and these other species, with the gel attempting to repair the damage by grafting any body part rather than the correct ones, which can be down to incomplete data on these different species, since there are also Pathos II employees that have machine parts grafted into their flesh in an attempt to save them from dying, resulting in creating hybrids of the original body, and thus creating some horrifying appearances. The anglerfish reside within the deepest region of the facility, within the abyss, where it no longer attacks and consumes small prey like how it normally would, but now goes after larger prey such as the Pathos II personnel. Despite not going after the usual prey it went after before, it still makes use of its light at the end of its appendage, with it lying in wait, luring the prey in with its light, which is an effective strategy for the mutated creature, since the personnel would use the guide lights to help them in seeking out the outlying stations within the gloomy darkness. Once the prey gets close enough to the light, the anglerfish will lunge outward and either knock the person out or tear the person to shreds with its sharp, needle-like teeth. But this creature is just the tip of the iceberg in this video. The construct is a bull, UH-free robot that had been turned into a mockingbird, with it containing the brain scan or neurograph of an unknown Pathos II employee. This is the first enemy you will encounter in Soma, where its appearance is a jumbled mess of wiring and structure gel mutations, which has given the mockingbird a bulkier form with a reinforced hide to match. The construct seems to have fused with another helper robot to produce legs, since the other bull robots don't possess these limbs and had originally been designed to traverse through the ocean rather than on land or within the halls of Pathos II. With these mutations, the construct has developed several growths on its body that produce light, which the construct makes use of this to help it see in the dark or to spot prey, acting as a spotlight. The construct's structure is a hunched over one, with it being in a bipedal position, and due to its size and weight, the mockingbird can be slow at times. However, this can soon change when it charges towards a target rather quickly when it needs to, and its mobility can be very precise when in a chase, able to quickly traverse halls and corners with general ease. The construct also makes an appearance on the game's promotional artwork, where it can be seen to be looking at its reflection in a mirror, where some have theorized that the woman staring back at the machine in the mirror had been Catherine Chun, or someone resembling her, or it could very well have been an early concept for Catherine before being changed in the final product. Site Upsilon is the only location the construct appears to patrol. The Flesher is a reanimated Pathos II employee where they have been completely consumed by a structure gel, with their head being encapsulated by it, with the gel hardening into a huge tumor, with it emitting lights from within, and the tumor has grown down into the chest of the individual. The reanimated person is also completely naked, with its skin appearing pale, with its arms and legs appearing darker, and veins can also be seen to be pushed through the skin. Due to the large growth on its head, the Fleshers are blind and deaf, and only react to someone's presence if they continue to observe it, which indicates it can sense a person's presence when being observed. They also seem to make use of teleportation, however this could also be explained by their presence messing with Simon's circuitry, which seems to indicate that they could be giving off electromagnetic energy that would mess with machinery. It is due to these traits that the Flesher is known to be one of the most oppressive enemies in the game, with it forcing the player to stop and cut lines of sight before moving forwards. The Flesher is also known to make raspy moans along with banging sounds, which is produced by instances of them seemingly appearing and disappearing. The locations the Flesher appears in is Site Lambda, the wreck of the Curie, and in between the Curie and Lambda. Jin had been a Japanese scientist operative stationed in Pathos II before he had been mutated by the structure gel. Jin can be seen to be wearing a Hamatsu power suit, with structure gel being seen to be leaking from the cracks within the suit, and the helmet's visor has also been smashed open from the inside, with tentacles protruding out from the opening. Jin in this state seems to have merged with his suit, which gives him the ability to be one of the strongest and fastest enemies encountered in Pathos II, since the suit gives the wearer a boost to their own strengths. Jin also seems to have sharpened senses. Like the Proxy enemies encountered in the game, Jin also possesses the ability to open doors. Unlike the Fleshers, however, Simon can stop Jin in his tracks by maintaining eye contact. However, this will only work for short periods of time, as longer periods will make him continue his pursuit. Another strategy Simon can use to evade Jin is hiding in darker rooms, and to routinely close doors behind him, as it will take Jin 2 to 3 seconds to force them open again. It is due to these traits that Jin becomes the toughest enemy in the game to escape from. Despite of his advantages, however, Jin for some reason is unable to use ladders, which is how Simon manages to free himself of Jin's relentless pursuit. But if Jin manages to catch Simon, he will knock him unconscious with a flurry of tentacles. Fortunately for players, Jin is only encountered in Saitao. The Leviathan is by far the largest enemy in the game, where it has been described to be some sort of giant squid that has been consumed by the structure gel, with it being encased in the hardened growth-like tumor. Despite it being classed as an enemy, there are plenty of harmless appearances it makes throughout Simon's journey throughout the abyss. The Leviathan can be seen to be covered with structure gel plating, with a housing many wow receptors that glow a light blue. The mouth of this creature has also been changed, with it now being armed with several large mandibles, with a red eye being at the center of these mandibles. Along with the armor of this creature, like the Anglerfish, we can see several faces forming with expressions of agony and distress, with them looking as if their screams were frozen in time, where people have theorized that these could have been the Pathos II personnel that were attacked by the Leviathan and had fused with the creature to grow in its size, which is certainly a frightening thought. The Proxies used to be employees of Pathos II who had been mutated by the structure gel, where it looks like the person had been killed and reanimated in the mutation process, where the face is locked in a screaming expression, indicating that the person had been aware of this process as it was happening. The upper body of this entity has become bloated due to the interior of the body releasing bacteria and cells breaking down that seem to have mixed with the mutation, with large veins veins being pushed through the skin, and pustules forming all over the body, and tubing forming from the structure gel that is keeping the form together. The head of this creature has been tilted backwards, and the eyes have been pushed out of the skull of this individual. Due to this fact, the Proxy is blind and cannot see, but its other sense of hearing has been elevated, where it can even hear the sounds of Simon's tools, such as his flashlight turning on and off in gameplay. Despite the bulky form and its thin, short legs, the Proxy can be pretty fast when in pursuit of prey, making them difficult to evade and lose when in a chase. The best option in getting around these nightmarish creatures would be to utilize stealth by crouching and limiting the sounds you make, or by misdirecting them with noise by throwing objects to lure them away from areas you are headed to. The name of these entities, however, originates from John Strohmeyer, who managed to put one of these creatures down during the assault of Site Theta in the backstory logs of the game, where the Proxies had managed to drive the remaining humans into the basement of the site. Within the events of the game, the Proxies mainly stalk the hallways and lower levels of Theta maintenance. The robot head, like others, had once been a Pathos II employee, where some have theorized that the identity of this entity had once been either Lisa Cameron, Paula Lansky, Claudia Eames, or Andrea Suffer. Regardless of the identity of this entity, the robot head is a female mutation of the structure gel, where it has a set of robotic eyes on one side of the head that looks to have come from a recording device, such as a camera, with a tube or wiring coming out from the back of the device that is connected to the once person's head. Across the body, growths have appeared, protruding from the skin, which has caused bleeding to occur. These growths can also be seen to be emitting lights that are also seen from other entities, such as the construct and flesher creatures, where the lighting can be seen to be coming from the neck, mouth, and the other eye that hasn't otherwise been modified by the mutation, where these mutations seem to react to the mood of the entity, as they will light up when it detects someone or becomes agitated. The other changes the robot head has undergone would be the prosthetics that have been crafted as a result of the structure gel, with a new foot and pincer being attached to her right arm. While the robot head patrols the locations within Site Omicron, she can be seen to be in a constant state of depression and distress, where she constantly cries to herself, where she is forced to live through this horrific body horror. When the robot head is alerted to someone's presence, she will, like other enemies, give chase while snapping her pincer arm open and shut, which is a frightening prospect, giving to you the thought of what she will do if she just so happens to catch up with Simon. The Scavenger is another mockingbird enemy seen around the Pathos II aquatic environments, with it on the constant search for more of the structure gel it craves. The Scavenger is a corrupted version of the Qualia RV2, where like the construct, another neurograph has been implanted into the machine. Unlike the construct, however, the Scavengers are very self-aware of their plight, where it not only knows about the WoW, but also knows that the structure gel is required for its survival. When approached by Simon, the machine will pressure him to give the Scavenger more gel, where it will tell Simon not to be greedy before attacking him with a flurry of metal tentacles, where it will attempt to drain the structure gel from Simon. The appearance of this universal helper has remained mostly unchanged, except for some minor growths appearing, adding to its form, and red lights emitting from the machine. Interestingly enough, the voice the universal helper possesses belongs to Ian Peterson, which indicates that his neurograph had been stolen by the WoW and had been uploaded into these machines. The Viperfish are creatures that have been mutated by the structure gel, and like the Anglerfish, they have a human head grafted on top of them. The Viperfish are encountered when traversing the depths of the abyss, where they attack in groups, while Simon is near the darker locations. However, they won't attack him if he stays close to the guide lights. Despite their alarming appearance, however, they are the weakest enemy to encounter in the game. Terry Akers was the chief factor at Site Delta before he injected himself with large quantities of structure gel, causing him to become this monstrosity, where the mutation has caused him to have similar features to that of the Proxies in a more slimmed down form, with tumor sacs appearing all over him, causing him to have a more bloated appearance. The more distinct features of his appearance would be that of the spinal cord, with it being exposed, possibly being under just a few layers of skin, and the massive opening that extends from his head all the way down to his groin. An arm and leg can also be seen to be protruding from his body, which seems to indicate that he had fused with one of his victims. Terry also has tubing coming out from some of the parts of his body, and he also has vine-like veins running down his legs. His arms seem to have been slightly elongated in the mutation process. He has also lost most of his skin color with the reanimation and mutation process, but I'm afraid the appearance is just the tip of the iceberg, as his abilities are even more frightening, as he is able to give chase and outrun Simon with general ease, and his brute strength allows him to smash through heavy doors, barriers, and to lift people with just one arm, like how he does to Simon in one of the scripted sequences of the game. He can also open and shut doors, so don't think that you are safe just because you have shut yourself in a room. Another thing Terry likes to do is wrapping his victims in mind coral, which can be seen to have happened to other survivors near the sites Theta and Delta. All of these things combined make Akers one of the most terrifying enemies to encounter in the game. However, there is one advantage that Simon has over Terry. Since he removed his eyes, he cannot see, just like the Proxies, and this can be exploited. Stealth and strategic noises are your allies here, as he will investigate sudden noises as and when they occur, so making use of objects or doors can be useful in warding him away from access hallways or rooms that you need access to. Site Theta is the only location that Terry is encountered in. Thank you for joining me and looking at the lore surrounding the enemies in Soma. If you enjoyed, then be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more lore, histories, and timeline related content. And why not hit the join button and become a member today for exclusive benefits such as early access to new videos, access to past livestream VODs, and to have your name present in all future videos. And I hope to see you back here very soon. And be sure to leave the video having a good one.